Ladies and sinners, welcome to another Tuesday evening edition of the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're back at it again after 2 weeks, guys. I needed a holiday break. You guys know how it is. Sometimes you just got to recalibrate. And after what I've seen from my Las Vegas Raiders the last 3 weeks, the ups, the downs, or the downs, up, down, I needed it, man. Needed a little break. I'm sorry we could not enjoy Victory Tuesday today. We should have. We should have had, I don't know, 5 to 6 more Victory Tuesdays so far this season. But alas, we are where we are, and we'll cover that as we get later into the show, guys. We got a lot to cover with the Raiders. It's probably going to be a bit of a downer. We're going to be critical of the team, and then we're going to talk about the future of the team. It is what it is, man, and we'll talk about it. But there's a lot of reasons why the team is where it's at. It shouldn't be shocking. But I think what happens every single year, and this was stated by an executive in the league, the Raiders fan base is sold at a means to win, just win, baby, a commitment to excellence on a yearly basis. It's part of the team mantra. And this executive, who remained unnamed, but it was mentioned in Hondo Carpenter's piece last week, we're sold this promise that we're going to get it together, we're going to win. They've done it every year for the last 20 years, and what do we have to show for it, right? 2 winning seasons. Sooner or later, I think the fans need to start holding Mark Davis responsible. And again, we'll cover that more in depth, but there's just no way around it. This team had a tumultuous year. There's no way it was anywhere near as bad as last year. As a matter of fact, there felt like there was more hope last year, even with all the crap that went down, the illegal activities, homicide by car crash, like all that stuff, drunk driving. Like all of that, believe it or not, felt like there was more hope last year than what there's been this year. Crazy, right? And we'll cover that more in depth when we get to the second half of the show. But we're going to start off the show with the Golden Knights, who are absolutely the top team in the West. They're the top team in the West in the NHL, and you got to love it. You got to love what the Golden Knights are doing. The big thing right now is they're staying healthy. The Golden Knights are staying healthy. They're not letting anything get in their way, and I feel like they're playing some pretty hard hockey. I really do. I feel like they're playing some hardcore hockey, and it helps a ton. I think it's their type of brand, and it's the brand they want to do when they are fully healthy. It's transition puck. Transitioning with the puck. That's something Vegas is one of the best in the league at. They're top of the West for a reason, and they're not. They were top of the league for a while, and then man, that Eastern Conference just started kicking ass. The Boston Bruins are unreal this year. The Bruins, the Hurricanes, they're absolutely unreal this year. I don't even know what to say to you folks, man. The Bruins and the Canes. I would like to see that be the Eastern Conference final, because I think that would be a hell of a matchup for 7 games, and it wouldn't surprise me if it went 7 games. But right now, the Bruins just seem to be the class of the NHL. I would say, Bruins, Canes, and then you had the Golden Knights in third place as far as if you had a league standing or a power ranking. No, I would totally say that as of right now, the Golden Knights, our Las Vegas Golden Knights, are currently placed third in all of the entirety of the NHL. They're currently on a break. They have a game later tonight as we speak, or I would say they will be starting here in the next half hour. Tonight against the Los Angeles Kings. This will be at LA, in LA. Short trip for the Golden Knights, probably, 2-3 hour bus trip. Likely they flew in, so about a half-hour flight, depending on how bad the airports are in LA right now. But theoretically, this should be a winnable game. The Kings are a tough team as well, though. We can't sleep on them. They're the second place in the Pacific Division. I think this should still be a win for the Golden Knights. I believe the Golden Knights are the best team in the Pacific Division by far. I don't really know if it's even close, to be honest with you. I see that the Kings are just 2.5 games back, but in my opinion, I just think the Golden Knights are a much better team, and they'll win this division as long as they stay healthy. They'll win this division handily, and which means they'll likely have home playoffs. I'd like to see them be the top of the West, to have that home ice advantage, and it's definitely possible. I want to say thank you to all the guys in the chat. Larry, Raiders, yes, shitters. Adam Karnick, good evening, buddy. Listen to a bit of your show, man. I always love hearing you talk hockey, and we're getting to the point where I don't know. We're getting pretty close to mid-season here in the next month or so. Really interested to see your takes on the All-Star break and how teams will be looking after that. The trade deadlines are always big in the NHL. I think some of the best teams really make the right moves when it matters most. Uh, Taryn, good evening, buddy. Thank you. You're always the best teammate, dude. Uh, Larry B talking about the intro. Absolutely. I love the intro. I think it's badass. I think the intro coming back from break, I think that's the best one. But this headbanging, it is what it is. Raiders suck ass. Yes, they do. They do. The franchise in itself sucks ass. Josh McDaniels sucks ass. Mark Davis looks like Skeletor, some evolved version of Skeletor, and he sucks ass too. Like he's just the worst. Him and his mutated bowl cut and his sunken in eye sockets, who pretends to care about the Raiders fan base. It's gotten old, man. It's gotten old real quick. Taron Rodriguez, I'll try to refrain from speaking negative on the Raiders. Thanks, dude. Thanks, dude. Chargers got to make the playoffs, 1 year. I'm glad it's the year the Raiders are down. You don't have to play us in the final week. R&R is a very important thing. 100%. I love it. I'm sure enjoying Victory Tuesday, but sometimes you need that break unless you're me with set point. Got to keep that going. Yes. Volleyball is a year-round thing, dude. It's indoors. And I like volleyball for obvious reasons. I love women. Yeah, that's why I like volleyball. But it does seem as though it's getting more and more interesting. It was a tough break for Nebraska this year. I thought they did a great job. That's a national powerhouse in volleyball. I don't think Nebraska's talked about enough. Maybe they are in the volleyball circle, but I can tell you right now, with the football program being what it is here in Nebraska, I don't think the volleyball team's talked about enough because they're consistently a national contender every single year. And to lose to Oregon the way they did, which was a nail biter, that was fun to watch this year. Taryn, give me your thoughts on that. Does McDaniels survive the year, or does Davis hit the eject button after year one? Mark Davis has made it really clear, Adam, that he's going to stick with Josh McDaniels. He says Josh McDaniels is the future. I think there are, folks that are much closer to me, like Hondo Carpenter, who does an amazing job, guys. Ted Nguyen, who's a film analyst, but he's got a bit of a pulse on the Raiders. Vic Tafur, all of those guys are absolute professionals. They're amazing at their job. Mo Moten, if you guys ever get a chance, follow him. He does an excellent job covering the Raiders. And I think what Mo does better than anybody else is he's just real with the situation, man. He's not a fan. Like, he's a fan. Don't get me wrong, he's a fan, but he's not afraid to say what it is, right? He's been a backer of Derek Carr. He's also been a critical component of Derek Carr. He just says what it is, He's been a backer he's a big fan of the Raiders. But I also think he says what it is about the Raiders. And Mo Moten's a good follow if you guys ever want to, get more of an keen insight to what the Raiders are about. I encourage you guys to follow Mo Moten. He's done an excellent job. But yeah, back to McDaniels. I think he's back next year. I do believe if they miss the playoffs next year, there's just no way he comes back. This year was tumultuous, man. And again, we'll talk about that a bit more after we briefly cover the Golden Knights and talk about our platform here, because we do got to get that sponsor kick in. So the Broncos fired Nathaniel Hackett. When do the Raiders give McDaniels a hook? It won't be this year, unfortunately. Derek Carr will be the scapegoat. We'll talk about that in a bit. Nathaniel Hackett being fired is not a surprise. That shouldn't surprise anybody. That team underachieved. They blew basically their future in draft capital on a washed-up quarterback that, to me, is a method actor playing quarterback. The guy's just weird, man. He ain't never been the same since they didn't give it to Marshawn on the one. And I don't care what anybody says. That dude is weird. He's got so much stuff going on, dude. I just don't know if you could say it. But yeah, he's a method actor playing quarterback. There's just really nothing about that guy that seems real, to be honest with you, except for his affinity for the Lord himself. Golden Knights are solid, excellent team. You're right, Kale. Let's hear the positive from Vegas. The Golden Knights are back. Yes, Golden Knights are back. We're also hearing more headway on a Major League Baseball team. Another positive. Gotta love it. Doesn't matter the sport. Availability is the best ability. 100%. 100%, man. Bruins sadly lost to the Senators tonight. I'm not too sold on the Bruins. Dude, they're an excellent hockey team. I know you're a Ducks fan, Kale, but watch out for the Kings. They're coming. Kings are much better this year. I don't think they're better than the Golden Knights. I really don't. I think they're fighting for second in that Pacific Division. As long as nothing happens to the Golden Knights, Taryn, I truly believe that the Golden Knights are the class of the West this year, and I think they'll hold on to that. It's kind of weird how much the Avalanche have fallen, and maybe that's just because of the cap situation, the constraints. I know they had to kind of do some finagling at the beginning of the year, and I'm sure there's some injuries going on. I'm not too familiar with that, but it's kind of weird that the defending Stanley Cup champions are kind of further down there. But again, they're at 40 points. We're not even midway through the season yet. That'll be about 6, 7 games from now. We'll be midway through the season and have more of an analysis on where the West is. But right now, if we're being honest, the Golden Knights are the class of the West, and I don't really know if there's much talk about that. LOL, Mark Davis is Skeletor in the flesh, 100%. He's a creepy looking dude. He's always got a young blonde hot chick sitting next to him drinking water, thirsty as hell, next to him during games. It's disturbing. The guy's always smiling even when we're losing. It makes me sick to my stomach. UNLV volleyball also caught a bad break as Don Sullivan left for Missouri. I saw that, dude. That's terrible. I retweeted that when you posted that. I thought that was a great tweet. UNLV Rebel Girl. She's one of the folks that follows this lovely show. She was pretty happy that we had this show going, especially when it first started. She's very critical. She's not very happy. She's not mad at Don Sullivan. She's not mad. She actually blames the former head coach for Don leaving. Thinks that that's a huge reason why Don left was the influence from the former head coach who moved on as well. All the best to Missouri, man. It sounds like Don was an excellent coach and was somebody they were hoping to keep, but I think Don just became a popular name, and bigger schools were going to spend the money. Let's take a look here. McKinnon's been hurt. Missed the last nine for Colorado. That makes all the sense in the world, dude. That guy's a superstar. Where would you put him at, Adam? I put him. I mean, he's definitely a top 10 NHL player. I mean, you put him top 5, right? I feel pretty comfortable putting him top 5. How do you feel about that, Adam? I think Eichel's moved himself kind of into the top 10 this year with the way he's been playing. He's done a really good job. Eichel's been playing really strong this year for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's really coming along in this system. He's looking a lot like what Buffalo was hoping for, I think. Don Sullivan did wonders for UNLV. She really turned that team around. I wish her the best. Yeah, man. I mean, sometimes this is what happens, dude. UNLV is not a major program. So unless and this is what I was hoping for when they were looking to hire a coach. I was hoping they'd go after an older coach. I know Brian Peterson was somebody that was talked about a little bit. Was it Coach O? Coach O was talked about a bit. These are older guys this would probably be their last job, and bringing their experience and the recruiting forum to UNLV. That's what I was kind of aiming for. I think that's the best interest for UNLV, because if you continue to go after these young guns who have a ton of potential and do an excellent job, the major programs are just going to triple your money. And there's nothing you can do about it. McKinnon's got to be top 5. McDavid is probably number 1. Eichel's not far behind either. I can't put Eichel in the top 5 yet, man. Even though I follow Vegas and I'm a fan of the Golden Knights because of the show. I can't put him in the top 5 just yet, but he's getting close, man. He looks really good this season, man. He's played really well. I can't argue with the McDavid thing. Has anybody played better than Connor McDavid the last I don't know 5 years? The only person I could think of, Adam, would be Kucherov from the Lightning. I thought Kucherov he's not talked about enough, man. That guy has 100 points a year. He really does. Stamkos is a beast, but would Stamkos be what he is without Kucherov and how good he's been over the last decade? We know Sid the Kid was a dream, but dude, Kucherov did not get enough credit for that 5-year stretch of like 100 points a season. Kucherov is one of my favorite hockey players in the last, I don't know, decade for sure. I'd put Kucherov in the top 5. Would you still do that, Adam? I know he's getting older, had some injury issues. He's a bit of a beast, man. I don't know. Just my thoughts. The Golden Knights play the Los Angeles Kings tonight in LA. I'm hoping for a Golden Knights win as the show goes on, because we will have the show going for about a half hour while that game is live. We'll try and give you guys as many live updates as possible while I'm, essentially just killing the Raiders. Zach always refers to McDavid as Draisaitl. That's video game numbers on the neutral zone. Okay. Yeah. I could see it. That NHL franchise where basically your two best players have like 27 goals in the first week of the season. I could see that. Draisaitl's really come along too, man. There was a lot of doubt with him when they made that move to bring him on the team, and Leon's killed it, dude. He's absolutely killed it, and I think McDavid accepting him and bringing him along, because there was points where they were struggling with him on the first line, the second line, the third line. Draisaitl's a beast. I'm glad that they found a way to marry those two. It reminds me a lot of the old days when Ryan Kessler and Ryan Getzlaf were on the same team, right? You could have easily put those guys on the same line, but having Ryan Kessler run the second line because it was like a 1A, 1B type thing. Ryan Getzlaf was Captain Duck, right? He was the man. Like there was nobody that was better than Ryan Getzlaf at certain points at center in the NHL. Ryan Kessler was not too far behind him. And the fact that that dude ran the second line with a couple of really young scorers and still played very efficiently, especially in their prime for the Ducks, like about 5-10 years ago, I just, dude, I'm telling you, I feel like McDavid and Draisaitl are kind of in that mention where you want those guys on separate lines because of what they can do, but when they're on the same line, some serious electricity happens. Kucherov is still good, and I get that, Adam. What I'm trying to say is I think Kucherov was one of the better players in the NHL, with the exception of the last couple of years. The 5 years before that, especially when they were winning their Stanley Cups, dude, Kucherov was unreal. Like I'm telling you, 100 points, guys, is so hard. We're talking about goals and assists here. That dude would get 100 points a season, it felt like. Seriously, Kucherov was just not talked about enough because of all the star power on that Lightning team. But Kucherov was one of my favorite players to watch in the NHL for years. Give me your guys' prediction. You guys think the Golden Knights beat the Kings tonight? I love this chat involvement tonight, guys. Great to be back. Great to have you guys back. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk about our platform, and we're going to start getting in on those Las Vegas Raiders when we get back here on the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
college football? And do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college, and the CCCAA, and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, ladies and sinners? Welcome back from the break. Another edition of the Sin City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We're back at it again. Get on us on our Twitter forums, guys. We're taking some heat. We'll talk about it here in a second. And I want to give my side to it because you just have a lot of trashy Raiders fans out there who just say what's on their mind, and it's obvious they don't know a damn thing about the game of football or about human decency for that matter, especially with some of the things people have been talking about, calling me names, for the better lack of word, calling me special or dumb or dipshit or whatever the case, just because I have an educated opinion about the Raiders situation, in my opinion. Again, it's just my opinion, but A lot of trash out there, guys. So I'm here to give my side of the story. I know the people that are in the chat right now would support me as a creator, as somebody who, supports them. They understand I'm not an idiot. I'm not a simpleton. I don't lack for brains. I understand the game of football and I love my team. I understand the sports in general, but I also understand business. So we'll get to that in a second. Before we do, we're going to talk about our platform, our lovely platform here. IE Sports Radio. For the past 8 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, hosted by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Larry B. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. As we were stating earlier, as we're bumping to this epic music, this second theme for the Sin City Sports Show, and let me turn up a little bit. I know it's obnoxious, but man, this is banging, man. This is bumping. This is what we do here, man. This is IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show. Get at us. Get at us on our Twitter handles. Sin City _IESR, at Kale _Henderson is my personal. Don't mind all the crap that's out there. Yes, Taryn, it's not cool. People who do that to you are instantly getting dumb of the week on the SoCal. Yeah, look at it, man. I mean, there was a guy that blatantly called me a dipshit. There was some guys calling me special needs. I mean, it's just that's the class of fan that some of the Raiders have, and it's gotten bad. So I'm glad we brought that up because we're going to talk about some of the topics that we essentially put in the pre-show where the Raiders are at right now. Okay, the Raiders as of right now. Which were expected to be an 11-win team, and probably should be an 11-win team. When you lose, and I'll put it to you guys in these terms, 5 of the 9 games the Raiders have lost this year, 5 of the 9 games were a combined 16 points. That's just unbelievable. That means there's something happening, and it was something that was a theme, right? It is now 6 times in the same season. In the same season, it's never happened in NFL history, and there's a lot of firsts to this season that we can talk about. But 6 times in NFL, never happened before in the same season. 6 times in the same season, a team has lost with a 2-score lead. 6 times. That's bad coaching. Horrible coaching. We've talked about it. All right? Look at the suspect play calling that's happened all year. I'm not making excuses for the players because they got to execute, man. We saw some drop balls by Hunter Renfrow, by Foster Moreau just this last game. Balls that were like legitimately game breakers because they ended up being 2 picks. The last pick, I cannot make any excuses for Derek Carr. It was horrible. He stepped up in the pocket. Normally he's automatic there, right? He just made a bad throw. Hunter Renfrow was wide open. And that was a game-changing play there too. But I'm not making excuses for him. He didn't play well, and he hasn't honestly played well the last 4 weeks. But he gets an unreasonable amount of vitriol and disrespect. And I'll say it like this, guys. I'm going to be 100% real with you. I think this is the last season we see Derek Carr in a Raiders uniform. I really do. There's been 9 seasons, okay? 9 seasons that he's been at the helm. They have 2 winning records. It's not all his fault. It's not like he was the solution either. I'm not afraid to say that. He had potential. That's why the Raiders stuck with him. That's why every coach that's come to this team, the 4 that he's had in his career, by the way, 4 in 9 years, which is absolutely pathetic. Just tells you how bad this franchise is. 4 head coaches. 4. 2 interim head coaches. 6 total head coaches. He's had 6 different play callers in his 9 years. But he's the problem. Right? Again, not making an excuse for him. I'm just being real. I'm stating facts. It's a problem. The Raiders have a fundamental organizational issue that they have not been able to figure out for more than a decade, almost 2 decades for that matter, since the 2002 season when they were beat down in a Super Bowl by Tampa Bay. We've been bad. Let me give you guys some comparison, and I know, Taryn, congrats to the Chargers for making the playoffs. They deserve it. And Justin Herbert, I think, is a stud. But let's do some comparisons here. Justin Herbert's last 4 games. 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown. 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Combined for the last 4 games, 1,250 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 4 fumbles, 1 loss. They're 3-1. Derek Carr has better stats than that. It's like 6-7. It's not much better, but he's got better stats than that. What is the difference? Honestly, what is the difference? It's the team. Chargers have a better football team all around. I'm not afraid to say that. The Chargers have a better roster structure than the Raiders. But I don't see their fan base calling their quarterback names, being absolutely horrible, questioning his faith, just saying he's trash. No, they say he's elite still. He didn't have an elite last 4 games. As a matter of fact, Derek Carr has had a better last couple seasons, if we're being honest, than Justin Herbert. Maybe not completely statistically, but his team's had more success in the long run. Chargers fans aren't doing that. And maybe that's just a different class, man. Again, the things that are said to me by just having an opinion, and it started with this. This is a business. The NFL is a business. The NFL teams have to look after the NFL teams, right? Well, the NFL players have to look after the NFL player as well. All I stated, and this was to Derek Carr's brother, I said, I hope you and Derek's agent tell him not to waive his no trade clause. He doesn't owe the Raiders a thing. Again, 6 different head coaches, 6 different play callers in 9 years. He's never had a defense better than 20th. His defense has averaged 20. They've allowed 25.9 points a game throughout his career. It's been that bad. It's been that horrible. Okay? Is he perfect? No. Is he elite? No. But until this last week, he was top 10 in almost every statistical category. QBR, touchdowns, interceptions. Now he's leading the league in interceptions after a couple bad games this season. My God, man. The Raiders' offensive line is dog water. It's horrible. Oh, Taryn steps in. Herbert needs to clean it up, but their O-line is bad. Yes, it's bad, but it actually ranks better than the Raiders right now. Believe it or not, Taryn. That's how bad the Raiders' O-line is. They've allowed pressures on almost 60% of the dropbacks this year. Pathetic. Taryn says Derek Carr deserves better. He and Jacobs are the only ones that truly care about winning. Do you see Jacobs' comments after the game? Yes, a lot of people are trying to say that's aimed towards Derek Carr. I don't think that's aimed towards Derek Carr at all. I think what he was trying to say, and if everybody listened to the entirety of the interview, he was questioning the play calling. And he had every right to. He's the number 1 rusher in the league, or he was after going into that game. He didn't get the ball very much. There's some validity to the idea that Josh McDaniels is throwing this season. There's some validity there. And I'm saying it like this. I believe, and I said this earlier today, and I was told I was, reaching. I believe that the front office completely sold us on a quick turnaround and winning in a winning season. I think they lied to us. Blatantly lied to us to our face. I don't think they plan on winning this year. I really don't. I think they were planning on making it look competitive and just hoping to rebuild. And here's why. Let's look at the Raiders as a whole. Okay? Since 2018, I'll just talk about the Gruden era. Let's talk about that, the Gruden era. From 2018 to 2021, the Raiders had 7 first-round draft picks. Guess how many of them are on the team right now? 2. 2 first-round draft picks are on the team right now. Now, that is not Dave Ziegler or Josh McDaniels' fault. Again, an organizational issue. Bowl cut is putting guys in place that are not very good. It's that simple. Now, this is the difference in coaching. John Gruden had worse draft picks, had a not-so-good roster, but we were still seeing improvement in key areas. Therefore, the team was looking like they were going to have winning seasons. 2021, I guarantee you the Raiders were making the playoffs with John Gruden at the helm. It is what it is. That's a fact. The reality of the situation is this. This is something that's been happening for 20 years. Bad draft picks has been happening for 20 years. This isn't a Derek Carr issue. This is an organizational issue. He's not innocent. He could have played better in a lot of games. But the dude still showed up, worked hard, and handled everything with class, even with all the crap he was getting at all times. Yes, he got paid. No, he didn't completely do everything he was supposed to do to earn those paychecks. But he put up with a lot of crap that a lot of NFL talent has never had to put up with. So the reality of the situation is this. In my opinion, Derek Carr's future is he will not be a Raiders quarterback next year. I don't think he will be. I'm at the point where I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to keep him, and the reason being is I don't know if they could do it better. I don't know if they could find somebody better right away. Not right now. You can't do that. You can't guarantee it. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep Derek Carr, and I am not going to be surprised when he walks away. So back to that tweet. I stated it's an NFL business. I don't believe Derek Carr should waive his no trade clause. If Derek Carr is under the understanding he will not be coming back next year, he does not owe the Raiders any favors. He doesn't owe them favors. By waiving his trade clause, he could get traded to a bad team. And it will cost that bad team bad picks or really good picks. That would be the best case scenario for the Raiders. That's what the Raiders want. That would be the best case scenario for the Raiders, and that's what they probably feel they're owed from Derek Carr. That's not the case. The NFL is a business. The team's got to look after the team. Carr's got to look after Carr. If I'm Carr, I don't waive my no trade clause. If I'm Carr, I stand pat and I force them to cut me because they have until 3 days after the Super Bowl season to cut him by roster structure, or they owe him the next 2 years guaranteed money, for which at that point he's basically going to be your franchise quarterback for that next season. If Derek Carr does not waive his no trade clause, he will essentially have a month until free agency starts, and his agent will have a month to speak with teams. It's tampering. You guys know what I mean, though, because it happens all the time. Adams chimes in, says Carr has always felt more to me like an above-average quarterback, but not elite. Fringe top 10, but not somebody that'll elevate the offense as a whole. True. That may be true, man. But there are times there's nobody in this league that I would trust with a down 4 points than Derek Carr. That's a fact. Until this season, guy had 32 game-winning drives. I think he's got 35 now. That doesn't happen by accident. You're a really good quarterback if you can do that, especially when you have a shit team and franchise around you. That's the reality. Yes, he had an excellent receiver this year and an excellent running back. The offensive line was hot garbage. Your top tight end was injured for 9 games. Your top slot receiver injured for 8 games. Let's be real about this situation. Your defense was horrible until the last 3 weeks. Everybody seems to want to give the defense a pass, like it wasn't allowing a crap load of points all season long. Like it wasn't choking 20-point leads. No, everybody wants to point at Carr in the offense. It's BS, man. Absolute BS. I'm not a Carr stan. I'm a fan of Carr. I'm being real with you folks. I think the Raiders and Derek Carr need to move on. I think it's best for both sides at this point. But I do believe Derek Carr needs to look out for what's best for him too. And I'm being told it's cuckold energy when I say something like that. Because what? I should expect Derek Carr to just, whatever fan base he goes to next, it should cost them a couple draft picks? No, it's business, man. It's business. It would be best for the Raiders to build the relationship back up and talk Derek into waiving his trade clause. It would be best for business if Derek wants to continue to play to not waive his trade clause. Go to a team that's going to be win now. In my opinion, these are the teams that I'm looking for Derek Carr's future. It's this simple. I think, as of right now, I see the Seahawks as a possibility because Derek is better than Geno, and I don't think anybody would argue that. The Seahawks have a ton of capital, ton of draft capital, and they seem to be on the up and up even with all the bad players. Derek Carr throwing to a DK Metcalf, throwing to a Tyler Lockett, being one of the best deep ball throwers in the league would be excellent to watch. Yes, they're not the same as Devontae Adams, but this team is going to use assets to build their defense, build their offensive line, and become a contender immediately. I think the Seahawks would be a perfect place for him to go. That's a realistic option. And I do believe that Pete Carroll would like a guy like Derek Carr. He's a veteran. He obviously learns offenses pretty quick. This is his sixth one for that matter, and he's doing fine. Not as good as people want him to, but he's doing fine. Here's another place. How about the Niners? We don't know anything about Jimmy G. We don't know if he's going to come back fully healthy. We don't know the contract situation with the Niners. I don't believe that the young gun that they drafted a couple years ago is ready to play. He got hurt. He's been out for the season. He has no playing experience. You cannot tell me that he's better than Derek Carr right now. You put Derek Carr in a Niners uniform, and that is absolutely terrifying. With that defense and the weapons they have, that offensive mind of Kyle Shanahan and his ability to put players in winning situations, that would be terrifying. So right now, the two destinations I see in the NFC, Niners and Seahawks, and it's coincidentally in the same division with teams that need quarterbacks and have capital, for that matter. On the AFC side of things, the most realistic option I see the Derek Carr going to is the Colts. It's also the most realistic option I see Sean Payton signing to, because they're a coach-needy team. They have a lot of potential on that roster. They have draft picks. They have a front office that's usually really good at using those draft picks and having cap space, for that matter. Listen, the Matt Ryan thing just kind of blew up in their face. It just wasn't what they were looking for. They have to rebolster that offensive line. But if Sean Payton decides to go to the Colts and Derek Carr is a logical option for them, look out, man. If Sean Payton gets a hold of Derek Carr, it's going to be scary. He's not Drew Brees, but he could throw for 4,500 yards a year and 30 touchdowns in the right offense. I think the Sean Payton offense, with Sean Payton's support and creativity, would be a great spot for him. It'd be a great spot for him. Colts would be a perfect spot for him. I truly believe that. And now, here's another spot. So the two unrealistic options would be the Niners and now the Miami Dolphins. We don't know what's going on with Tua. It wouldn't surprise me if a doctor says, dude, you can't come back. I'm sorry, you can't play again. If that's the case, the Miami Dolphins will be looking for a quarterback. Derek Carr's not elite, but he could definitely show up to Miami and help win games. With that defense, Tyreek Hill, are you kidding me? Absolutely. So those are the four options I'm looking at right now, man. I think the Seahawks and Colts are more realistic. I think they're good options. I think they're options that he would definitely entertain. The Niners are definitely a possibility if they want a quarterback with above average athleticism who can help run that outside zone stretch game, and he's great with play action. I personally believe that the Niners would be the best overall option for Derek Carr, but Seahawks isn't going to be bad. He's going to show up there. He's going to be QB1 because he's better than Geno, and they're going to have a ton of capital to give. The other one is the Colts. I think if the Colts land Sean Payton, Derek Carr is going to have a hell of a next 4 years. Truly. And if Sean Payton really wants Derek Carr to succeed, it's going to happen. It's not going to be like what we've seen with the Raiders. Truly. And that division is horrible. Jacksonville is coming on, but let's be real. The rest of that division is trash. The AFC South would be a perfect place for Derek Carr to go to. And here's that last one, the fifth one. And tell me if I'm crazy. Well, it is what it is, Adam. He's still better than most of the vets they brought on. He's better than Carson Wentz. He's better than Matt Ryan right now. Like, let's be real. He'd be the best quarterback they've had since Andrew Luck. He's not on the same level as Andrew Luck. I'm just saying he'd be the best quarterback they've had. They have an excellent run game. They have receivers. They'll have draft capital. And if they're smart and go after Sean Payton, they're going to have a dude. A dude that can call plays and manage a team. A Super Bowl winning coach. I just think it's a good recipe. The fifth and final option is the Patriots. And this is where I put in this is a good segue into the Raiders' future. There is a big thing in my mind that seems to think the Raiders and the Patriots could come up with the trade options with Mac Jones and Derek Carr. Belichick gets an above average quarterback with excellent arm talent to run that system with a top 10 defense. Derek literally just doesn't have to lose games, and that team probably contends for the AFC East again, right? This is foreshadowing, right? But for some reason in my mind, I see the Patriots doing a deal We all know that Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick really liked Derek Carr a couple years ago. As a matter of fact, they were rumored to be one of the teams that called in to offer John Gruden some picks to bring Derek Carr to New England before they drafted Mac Jones. Mac Jones, in my opinion, has an attitude that the Raiders need. He has experience with Josh McDaniels' offense, and he did throw for over 4,000 yards in his rookie season. He was playing really well. He would be familiar with Josh McDaniels' offense, and it would give Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler time to develop a quarterback behind him. It almost seems like it's too good to be true, but that's the reality of the situation right now. I think the Raiders' future is Mac Jones. I think the Raiders' future is Tom Brady is a possibility, believe it or not. It's kind of scary. Jimmy Garoppolo could be a possibility if you want to talk about a bridge quarterback. If the Niners don't bring back Jimmy G, he'd be a perfect spot for the Raiders with his familiarity with Josh McDaniels' offense. You have weapons. He's not going to lose you games. He's not going to necessarily win you games. You're looking at the same kind of quarterback. It'll probably just be a lot cheaper because he's a vet with an injury history. But you guys in the chat tell me, what do you think? I personally believe that the Seahawks and the Colts are the two most realistic options for Derek Carr. The two options I think would be best for Derek Carr would be the Niners and the Patriots. I think he'd be successful at both spots. Is he going to be a Super Bowl champion? We can't say that. Could he help? Yes. Again, Patriots have a top 10 defense. Right now, their offensive play calling is absolutely shite. It's bad. It's horrible. But if you bring in a quarterback, if you bring in a guy that can call plays like Bill O'Brien because he's available now, I don't know. I think it'd be a good spot. Carr would definitely be an improvement for the Colts, but it definitely feels like we're going to keep banging our head into the wall until it works. That's kind of where the Colts are at, dude. This is what's happening with the Colts. They're in an interesting position. I'm glad you brought that up. Again, another segue to the future. I think the Raiders are picking 8. They're going to mess around and probably win one of the two next games, so they're probably going to stay around 8 to 10. That's not a good spot to get a quarterback. In my opinion, you get a journeyman, you get a vet, and you continue to build out this roster until you're ready to trade up like the Chiefs did for Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying another Patrick Mahomes is going to exist. I'm just saying their recipe was genius. And to say that the Chiefs didn't do a great job is crazy. They built a Super Bowl winning roster and then traded up for that kid. Super smart. I think the Raiders should do the same thing. They should use the same blueprint. Don't be stupid and go after that. Or build your roster and then use draft assets to trade for a proven vet. Simple. Adam says Carr to the Pats is very interesting. I like the thinking. Honestly, man, it seems to be the most realistic trade option. If Derek wants to go somewhere and win, that's a good spot for him if he waives his no trade clause, because I feel like the Raiders and the Patriots could come up with a trade between Mac Jones and Derek Carr. Mac Jones is not an improvement over Derek Carr, but he's got potential. And he's got familiarity with Josh, and he's got a fire that I don't think we're used to seeing as Raider fans. Like, the dude openly on TV is basically cussing out his offensive coordinator because he's just disgusted by how bad he's been. Matt Patricia's been. I like that fire. I want to see that here. That's something Raiders fans have been wanting to see from Derek. He's got a ton of talent, Derek does. But he's not innocent. He's got things that could be desired. He has things to desire, if that makes sense. Raiders would almost have to get Mac back in that deal. You cool with that? Yes. No, that's what I'm trying to say. You have to trade. It's going to have to be a trade situation, right? If Derek doesn't waive his trade clause and the Raiders really want to go after Mac, they're probably going to have to give up a first because Bill's not stupid. Which means Derek will be a free agent and he'll be able to pick from the litter of teams that need quarterbacks. Again, I think the Patriots, I think the Seahawks, Colts, Niners, I think all 4 of those teams really need a quarterback right now. Denver needs one, but they're screwed. But we won't touch base on that situation. Those are the 4 teams off the top of my head that I can think of that really need a quarterback upgrade, and Carr is better than any of the quarterbacks on their rosters right now. Truly. The Niners would be the best option. Patriots probably the second best. The 2 easiest to see would be the Seahawks and the Colts. And I don't think Derek would have to waive his trade clause to get there. I think he stands pat. He doesn't cost those teams any draft picks, and they bring him in. The Raiders, on the other hand, are going to have to use some draft capital to upgrade their position if they can't find a way to get Carr to waive that trade clause and maybe do a deal with the Patriots. Again, it seems realistic. It might not be bad. And again, I don't think Mac is better than Derek, but there's more potential, and we have less of a sample size to scrutinize than what we have with Derek. Derek is not the problem in Vegas, but he's also not the solution. I think we can all agree on that. He's still a good guy. He's professional. He's an all-time Raider. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. He owns the passing yard and touchdown records, so we got to give him his flowers, man. And he's been an absolute professional with this dumpster fire of a franchise. Way more professional than he's ever had to be with the way the fans treat people, fellow Raider fans and him alike. Raiders currently pick 8. O-line, edge, and DB are their biggest needs. If they part ways with Derek Carr, obviously quarterback will be a huge need. But I think they can figure that out with a bridge quarterback until they build a roster that's good enough to compete, and then they'll go after a quarterback like Chiefs and Mahomes did. The Colts pick 5. I think they could go after a quarterback. I don't think it's likely. I really don't. I don't think it's likely anymore. Texans are almost surefire going to pick Bryce Young. I'd be shocked if they don't pick Bryce Young, but C.J. Stroud would be a great compensation. Then you look at it, Seattle Seahawks could easily draft C.J. Stroud, or they use that number 3 pick to get their biggest need and upgrade to Derek Carr. Derek Carr finally plays for a team that values defense and putting players around him. I don't know. Just saying. Anyone who has endured the Raiders deserves props, 100%, including the fan base. And that's most importantly what I want to get to here to close the show. Raiders are currently pick 8th. I would like to see them go after a DB. I would like to see them go after the best offensive lineman or the best defensive back. I think you need to fortify those positions over the next couple of years, then trade up for that guy you want in the draft. Trade up for an Arch Manning in 4 years, for F's sake, right? Trade up for Caleb Williams in 2 years. If it's truly what you want to do, I'd love that. I'd be all on board. If the Raiders said they're interested in Caleb Williams and trade up to get him, oh my God. All for that. I'd be in hog heaven, dude. I'd be okay with that. Here's my situation. If we're moving on from Derek Carr, I hope they have an upgrade, and they better have a plan. Because if they don't, I don't believe Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler will get another year. Dave might, but Josh definitely won't. He really fluffed. Dude, he did a bad job this year. Let's be real. Horrible job coaching this year. A lot of bad coaching. I don't think I have to state what it was and what the evidence is. Everyone watched the games, and it was suspect. C.J. Stroud is most likely going to be a Raider between him and Bryce Young. Larry loved Bryce Young back in high school days. I would like C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young. I think C.J.'s more of a fit for this offense. I just unfortunately think the Raiders would have to give up the farm to go get him. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm the Falcons, I'm trading up to get him. If I'm the Colts, they could go after a quarterback, but they have a bunch of other needs too, and they could easily fill that quarterback position in that division with somebody like Derek Carr and use the assets they finally have, because they didn't have a first-round pick for a while after that trade for DeForest Buckner. I don't know. I think that'd be tough to pass up on if you're the Colts. It's possible, though. I think Arizona's not going to pick a quarterback. I don't see that happening. C.J. Stroud, I'll say this. C.J. Stroud and Bryce Love are likely gone in the top 5 picks. And those are the only 2 quarterbacks I would draft in the first round this year. This whole nonsense about Richardson from Florida is ridiculous. The guy's got upside. He's not very good. Look at what he did at Florida. It was bad. I don't think that's the guy to go for. So I think the Raiders stand pat. I think they get the best available dude, man, on offense or defense, and just hope to build a roster that helps. That's the Raiders' future to me. If you're going to move on from Derek Carr, you do save a bunch of money. You only have a $5.6 million cap hit if they cut him after the Super Bowl, 3 days after the Super Bowl, which gives you that $30 million you were going to pay him back to put on veterans and stuff, and then you can go after a dude. For Raider Nation, and this is kind of the ending point and what I want to finish the show with, I truly believe Raider Nation needs to start holding Mark Davis responsible for all the crap that's happened the last 10 years. Okay? Dennis Allen was his first hire. Well, Reggie McKenzie was his first hire. Dennis Allen was that first coaching hire, right? He signed off on that. It was bad. It didn't work out. He lasted a season and 4 games. It was pitiful, right? Jack Del Rio is probably the best hire so far that Mark Davis has had. Even though John Gruden was showing promise in his last year with us, that team was definitely turning into a winning team, even with all the shit draft picks the horrible draft picks over the last 10 years. That's how bad the Raiders are as a franchise. 5 of their 7 first-round picks in a 3-year span, or sorry, a 4-year span, are no longer on the team. That's how bad the Raiders are and pathetic. Mark Davis still signed off on bringing John Gruden in when Jack Del Rio was winning football games. 100%. Stop pointing the finger at one guy. This is a team game. This is an organizational game. The better organizations don't go through this crap. Mark Davis needs to be held responsible. He made the decision to go after Josh McDaniels when everyone knew that Jim Harbaugh was interested in coming to the Raiders. That Jim Harbaugh. It's just crazy to me, man. I think we need to be real about the situation. If the Raiders were patient and maybe went with Rich Bisaccia, let him have a season. Let's say they don't win. Guess what? You have more opportunity to go after Sean Payton than ever before. You don't think Sean Payton wouldn't have wanted to be a Raiders coach? The marketing in Vegas? Oh, he would have loved it. We just weren't patient. We blew our wad on Josh McDaniels. And I don't trust the dude, man. I don't trust the dude at all. I'm being real with you guys. From filming the games back in Denver to now, it looks like he's been throwing games by his play calling. It is what it is. Again, I'm not absolving Derek Carr. He should have played better. But this team is trash. It has a couple bright spots. And they pulled their weight, but not everybody else did. It's that simple. That's why the team is losing. So the future, either wait patiently, build a roster, wait patiently for Caleb Williams for that matter. Trade up for CJ Stroud if you really love him. Maybe work out something to bring Mac Jones or Tom Brady in. I don't know. But that's really the Raiders' only options for the future at quarterback. But in my personal opinion, you might as well eat it. You might as well rebuild this roster, bring in a bridge quarterback, and wait for Caleb Williams the following year. That would be my desire for the team if they're going to move on from Derek Carr. For that matter, respect Derek Carr's decision. If he decides not to waive his trade clause, let him go. Just cut him. Let him pick a team. Let him go off into the sunset winning with another franchise, because he's probably going to do that. He may not ever win a Super Bowl, but he deserves respect. That's all I'm saying. And for Raider Nation, we got to hold our owner more accountable, man. They're bad. He's bad. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's obvious he doesn't care about our opinions or our feedback. Stop buying his crap. Stop buying the season tickets that are overly expensive for the product that we get. We got to be real with the situation, man. This is the Sim City Sports Show presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're on every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm your host, Cale Henderson. We'll see you next Tuesday. Love, peace, and hair grease, folks.